Yeah, we've only seen the first two groups this morning, so everyone so far looks pretty good. So we'll obviously, during the course of the day, the other groups will filter through and they're at different venues, and so trying to track everyone, we'll be getting around them and getting reports on how everyone's looking, but so far looks okay.
Yeah, a lot of players.
Not that I know of, no.
Can you explain sort of what the structure of this is right now and what we're seeing out there and how it all works?
Yeah, well, there's groups of 8 at either end, which includes the coach, and they're just split up, and so they train amongst themselves and do a session, both running and skill work, and then move on. So that's their session. So you can imagine you can only fit on there 2 groups of 8 at any one time. So we've got trying to get different venues and different time sets to be able to manage that throughout the course of the day.
You've just got to stand back and watch, I guess.
Yeah, it feels it's a step towards normality, but we're still not there because you need to, I'm sort of up and down the middle, and I still can't go to either group, so that's a little bit different, and still the connection amongst your players whilst you're doing it from a distance still, so it's a little bit different, but it's still an excitement level amongst the players to be able to get back and have a run around and kick amongst each other. Even though it's only a few of them, it's still a really important start.
Yeah, a lot of players come from overseas.
Kind of move apart signal to the players a couple of times out there. How does that kind of feel, telling them to kind of spread out?
Yeah, it's different than the other way, which is you like your players to mix, and it's just it's like everyone goes through this period of adjustment, and our boys will pick it up. We're really confident of that. All the players across the competition will pick that up. It's just being mindful of it, and something that's not at the front of your mind 10 weeks ago when they last trained together, or 8 weeks ago when they last trained together, has to be at the front of their mind now, and that's the adjustment that everyone makes, and not just with sport, everyone in the community has to make that adjustment.
You had a lot of players come from different states, obviously went home there. Everybody back now?
Yes, everyone's back. So we had 27 players that went from Sydney and spread out all over the country, so we've been able to manage them remotely as best we can using all the available technology, and then really during that period it's up to them to be able to self-manage and come back in the best possible shape. And from the initial parts, when we look at it at the moment, they look as though they're in pretty good shape. So for a young group, well, I think we're the equal second youngest in the competition. It was an important period to see how they adjusted to that self-managed period, and so far they look pretty good.
How's the vibe in the group, and how frustrating has it been for you? Because again, like in a footy club, it's always a case of, pulling someone aside and mentoring and that sort of thing. It's, you can't obviously do that.
Yeah, it's just different, isn't it? Like, we're not the only part of community that's had to adjust. You guys have all had to adjust as well, and we're no different to that. So everyone takes that period of time to adjust, and then you just get used to that new normal. And we've been trying to be inventive and create ways of staying in contact and staying connected, and I think that's been reasonably successful because everyone has enjoyed parts of that. And so now we're going to another phase, which is this week, and then next week it changes again. So things are changing all the time, and that's the thing to be on top of, because things are changing so quickly, is keeping on top of that all the time. Yeah, he's been in Sydney the whole time, so he's been able to train throughout this whole period and kept himself in pretty good nick. So conditioning-wise, he's fine. It's just a matter of what the next build-up looks like. So we've only got 3 weeks to get these guys in shape before they play, so it's a very short amount of time. In a normal pre-season sense, you're normally talking about a couple of months to be able to ease them into it. And they haven't done any competitive work. They won't do any competitive work this week. That's not till next week. So there's all these stages that we'll need to be mindful of, and we'll have to monitor them very closely, because it's an unusual build-up. We understand that. We need to make sure that we don't put them at risk. Today's really about, and this week's about, and probably the whole 3 weeks is about conditioning them so they don't get injured. You can't teach a lot of game plan stuff or get them much fitter. It's essentially about conditioning them so they don't get injured, or prevent that as much as we can. Look, we hope so, but we don't know. I mean, it's 3 weeks away. There's still no. Today's the first group session. There's still competitive sessions next week. As in all of our players, we just need to be making sure that they're robust, because once the games start, there's another phase then that they'll have to get used to. Going from this, there's still a fair way to competitive AFL football. So, and that's only 3 weeks away.
Is there anyone at this stage, John, who you would say wouldn't be right for round 2?
Look, not at this stage, but yeah, things have changed once again. This 3-week period is going to be important for all clubs to get them through from the isolation period or training in pairs into this next stage, even before next week. So, we've got some important steps to make.
Is there enough time in regards to this abbreviated pre-season, so to speak, to get the players back at full tilt when it all gets going?
I think there's been understanding and acceptance. You're not going to get them back into full tilt in that amount of time, based upon what we know, and so our challenge is to get them back in the best possible condition, to be able to make sure they're resilient enough to get through the training sessions in the game. So that's what our program's all about, is trying to make them robust to be able to withstand the challenges of training and the challenges of a game in 3 weeks, to make them resilient enough to be able to get through. It's not about anything other than that. It's not about training the game plan or you just don't get the time. It's just about making them as sound as you possibly can to be able to withstand the rigours of AFL footy.
So with respect to that, how important do you think team culture is at a time like this in sort of keeping standards high when players are apart? And I guess now when they're together, but things are a bit weird. Yeah, do you think the Swans are pretty well placed in that respect?
Oh, look, there's never a time it's not important. That's my first answer. But it's also about the ability of athletes to be able to self-manage. Has always been important in sport, and will continue to be important, and has been highlighted even through this period. It's not about having a coach tell you what to do and when to do it. It's about being self-managed, and those that get in the driver's seat and drive their own careers are usually the ones that succeed no matter what the environment, and that'll be only highlighted during this period.
John, all the assistant coaches back? I mean, we've heard so much talk about soft caps and reductions to football departments. Have you had to start dealing with that personally yet?
Yes, we have, and we'll talk about that a bit more later in the week. But it's a really tough period at the moment for a lot of people in this industry. It's not just our club, but all clubs right across the board have had to manage with that. And there's no other reason other than we've got a hard number to get to as far as numbers of people allowed around the playing group, and then you've got a financial number to manage, and there's no other reason. So it's a tough period for a lot of people, but it's a tough period for a lot of people in the community, and we're part of the community like everyone else, and those hard decisions have to be made, and unfortunately people will suffer because of that, not just in our sport but right across the whole community.
Do you expect the standard of footy to suffer in any way because there'll be less people on board?
Look, I don't. It's hard to say, it's hard to speculate. All I know is that the communities, the football departments to themselves at the moment are great places to be around, because you're able to give the players the attention and support that they need and deserve to develop into AFL players. And I'm hoping that down the track that's still the case. It's not just one or two people's responsibility in a football club, it's everyone's responsibility to be able to manage and support the players. And let's hope that still continues. Not sure yet. I mean, and you have to cut the AFL some slack, and anyone that's managing these type of issues, whether it's the NRL, the AFL, is things are changing so quickly, and we'll work through that. It's not at the front of our mind just right now. We'll get our attention into that when we find out, and when we find out, we'll be the same as every other team. So our focus at the moment is just making sure our players are resilient enough to be able to withstand what's ahead of them.